Namaste. Remember, I began my journey, my search was for self, my search for God, 60 years ago. And even at 60 years ago would put me at 14. But even at 14, I was already a steady meditator. I think 12 was when I read Paramahamsa Yogananda, his autobiography of a yogi, which officially marked my... I had read other books of my mom's books, so voracious reader. Anyway, let's say 60 years of trekking through the Himalayas. And I still have the same visualization of my journey as I always had. I could see the next step. I could see it, sometimes 2 or 3, but never more than 3 steps. Just pretty much focus always on the now. Be here now in the popular vernacular. But truly, a lot of wisdom packed in that statement. And beyond that was always either foggy, beyond the first step or the next 2 steps, or it didn't matter at all. One or the other, I'm not quite sure. Sometimes, maybe a little bit of both. It didn't really matter. It was just 1 step at a time. That's all you could do. And I remember for how long on that step-by-step, if you've been trekking, you know that there's ups and there's downs, and there's plateaus and there's ups. But to get started, it's always the steepest part of the mountain, usually. The beginning was steep, and that's why I was fortunate to be a young man. To have the stamina, to have the strength. And not only that, just carrying at least a 200 bag full of what I call now, in the popular vernacular, shit. 200 pounds bag of shit. This is regrets, and this is everything about your ego that makes you feel like you're a separate self somehow. Your jealousies, your petty jealousies, your arguments, your feelings of superiority or inferiority, your value system, your belief systems, all this is like a burden. And somewhere when I got tired of carrying it, I guess about 20 years ago, I realized that, hey, all I have to do is put it down. Put down that 200-pound bag of shit. Just put it down. Don't hold on to it. Let it go. And now each step became, well, I guess you adjust to everything. So at first it was amazingly easier. But over time, all things being relative, over time I adjusted and was used to carrying the same load, but without the 200 bag of shit. Just carrying my physical being. And imagine my surprise after being on a lifelong journey, only to ultimately discover that it's a journey to nowhere. Or if you take that word nowhere and divide it now, here, yeah, equally so. There was nowhere to go. I thought of pilgrimages. I've had an opportunity this lifetime to meet a lot of spiritual people, the upper echelons. I've never been particularly close to anyone that's a contemporary that's kind of joined my struggles. A confidant, I guess that's what I'm trying to say. And YouTube, thank you, YouTube. You've become, and those of you that watch me have become as close to competent that I've ever had. Because so few, there's a lot of lip services, but so few are really willing to go that extra mile. And that extra mile is 100% devotion to the task at hand. And this devotion can only occur when you're thoroughly convinced. It's hard to be devoted to something that you have questions about. Crisis of faith, they call that. It's quite common out there, crisis of faith. You've been taught something. You develop a belief system, and you have to discard your belief system. You have to discard it. And you realize that everything you believe, if you believe in it, it's not so. Because a belief, by definition, is a blind acceptance. And there's no blinders, it's an opening process. And anything that closes you down, like ideas and beliefs are limiting, aren't they? And even if you start believing that I don't have any beliefs, that's still a belief, isn't it? So it gets to be, rhetoric and word games. But there'll come a day when, no matter how devoted you've been to this journey to nowhere, that you give up. You don't give up on the possibilities. It's within the realms of possibility that you can awaken in this lifetime. Within the realms of possibility, it's possible. Highly improbable. Improbable? Yeah, I think highly improbable that you will, but it does occur. And I'm a witness to that. So you give up and say, well, everything that I thought I knew and everything that I was searching for and everything that I was doing ultimately wasn't getting me anywhere. So I had to give up the idea of the I, the ego, the death of the ego. And then you have to surrender and surrender and surrender and surrender yet again. Surrender to your ignorance. Surrender to your stupidity, to your stubbornness. Surrender to your impulses of jealousy and possession, and to love another individual in the sense that you're expecting something back. I love you, so you gotta love me. And that's relation. You don't love me, I don't love you. You don't love me, my heart's broken and I'll pick up the pieces. What about I love you? And just leave it at that. Nothing bounces back. Karma is action, and there's a reaction. Karma, less love. You give freely, unconditionally, without any expectations. And you know what life has taught me? If you don't expect anything, you'll never be disappointed. Just think about that for a moment. If you have no expectations, you'll never have another disappointment. So this journey, this step that I visualized, so clearly, and the ups and the downs and the tougher days but each day began with the opportunity to take another step. And I can say that basically in those 60 years, I never neglected the opportunity that particular day presented me with is to take another step. If I did nothing else, if I was sick in bed, sick at heart, sick in mind, I still persevered. I took the next step. And this is what I mean about commitment and dedication. That no matter what, And this included, the completely necessary daily meditation practice and practicing in being mindful and living in the moment, and practicing in compassion, which is still an art in progress on my part. I sought enlightenment through the mind, jhana yoga. And then I had to be reminded, by Advaita Vedanta, which is jhana yoga. They're the ones that reminded me of Swami, my favorite Swami on YouTube. Never got his name right. I'm working on that. I haven't heard it said, so maybe I'll. But he's amazing. You can't go on YouTube without seeing the Swami. I think brilliant. Advaita Vedanta, which is the jhana path of the jhana yoga. He's the one that stressed to me that compassion, and it's really interesting because Thich Nhat Hanh, the Vietnamese monk from Plum Village in France, he was, I called him recently in a video, called him the saint because he was the epitome of bhakti. This bhakti is the green heart chakra, open to everyone. He taught me about taking each step on Mother Earth, receiving and giving the same attention, love, and caring nurturement that we get in each step, and to appreciate the opportunity of each step. And I believe that he spent the end of his life in a wheelchair, so it probably was even more meaningful, the steps that he celebrated on his adventure in this lifetime, the steps of giving and receiving from the mother, our mother, the earth. So I touched on surrender, and became more of an important part of my practice. Meditation was easy. I could meditate. So right now, meditate now for 2 hours and not even and get up feeling renewed and revigorated. But the practice of surrendering took a lot more effort. Still takes effort. And this surrender is a necessary part to expand the green heart chakra, to become compassionate. I think on a universal level, I'm pretty compassionate. Hard work. I neglected it in favor of something else, of the method that I was drawn to, the jhana yoga, the jhana yogic path. But this surrender, it's just impossible for me to overstate the importance. And in this surrender is what I mean by surrender is accepting and thriving and enthusiastically recognize the extraordinariness of being ordinary. We're all the same. We're all part and parcel, as I'm so fond of saying, of the universal expression, the universal spirit. And our soul, our light body, becomes one as we spiral ever upwards on this never-ending, this journey, this infinite journey of love. So where do I think, as I'm wrapping this up, I just like to say, what was the culmination of my efforts and my experiments and my experiences and the learning process and taking these steps and learning how that the outward was only deception, just mind talk, monkey talk, and only through the inward, by going, you can only come out by going in. And what one might ask, or at least I'm going to tell you, ask or not, it's really of no concern. It's oneness. That simple, beautiful experience and understanding and embracing our oneness. We're all Buddhas. Some of us are sleeping, some more than others. Some are in such deep sleep that it looks like, to me, from my point of view, it's a coma. And I have to be careful of this kind of judgmental thing, because it is a judgment that I look around and 99.99999% of the world is sleeping. And I want to, if I could shake their shoulders and say, hey, it's not that difficult. Wake up, get your head around figure out what's important. Figure out what this is all about. Why we're given this opportunity anyway. But surrender, acceptance of ordinariness, that's the commonality. Okay. After awakening, the spiritual ego did it me pop up and, I'm special, I'm enlightened, I'm the one of 800,000 people on this earth right now. Somewhere between 80,000 and 800,000 people on this earth are awake, abiding, adyashanti, abiding, awakening, compared to non-abiding, that you have the flashes of satori and nirvana, and you're in non-abiding awakening. Abiding awakening means from waking up from whence there's no return. From whence there's no doubt that you're awake. No doubt whatsoever. The last thing you need is anybody to validate you, because you could care less. I certainly care less about what other people think about who I am, or what I've done, or what's important to me compared to what's important to them. But remember this oneness. And this is what I'm practicing. I'm pretty much in a state now of 24/7 meditation, walking. It's, the old Zen koan: carry water, chop wood. Live life until the body fails you. But embrace oneness. I, again, love humanity. The mass, the huge, it's easy. But individuals, that's a lot more challenging. And no one says you have to love everybody equally. But I think equal ceases to be. There is no measurement anymore in love. Love shouldn't be a measurement. Who loves more? Who do I love more? Who loves me more? Who do I want to love me more? And who do I want to love me less? None of those. There's no limitations, expectations. Love and love. Love is love. So I leave you with this. We are one. We always have been one. We always will be one. And in this oneness is God. I thank you for your attention. Namaste.